Hey there guys, welcome to this video. So this video is part of the Principles of Marketing course. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the implementation phase of the marketing plan. So in the previous video, you must have watched the planning phase of the marketing plan, where we did talk about business mission and objectives, which was the first step. Then we talked about how do you conduct a situation analysis by doing a SWOT analysis, which is by finding strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of a firm. So now comes the next step, which is the actual implementation phase of the marketing plan, which involves two steps. So in this video, I'll actually talk about step 3, which is identifying your opportunities, which is part of your marketing strategy. So this may sound very trivial, may sound like, you kind of know this before. However, the importance of this step cannot be overemphasized. This is one of the most important steps in the whole marketing plan, where you identify the opportunities within your customer base. So how do you do that? Well, you do that using the STP process, which is the segmentation, targeting, and the positioning process. So what is segmentation? Well, segmentation is an activity of finding segments within your customer base. So a customer base is usually a very diverse and a large customer base. So for instance, if you look at Apple, the kind of customer it sells to, it can actually divide its customer base into different segments. And those segments are supposed to be homogeneous from within, but heterogeneous between. So if you have two segments, then each segment is supposed to be similar in some sort of way within a segment, but different segments should be different from each other. And you can define your segments you can define segments in many different ways, which means you can identify segments in many different ways. So how can you do segmentation? Well, you can do the most easiest type of segmentation is a demographic segmentation. If you have data on your customers about their genders, their income levels, their age groups, something that some data that you can acquire from census database, or you can even survey your customers, you can do what you call demographic segmentation. Though it's very easy to accomplish demographic segmentation, however, there is not a lot of value that could be attained from demographic segmentation because your competitors can also imitate the segmentation that you do. However, sometimes it becomes absolutely important given the product categories. So for instance, if you're selling soap, then you can have Dove or Dove Men. So you're actually having two different segments that you're selling to. Or if you're selling these kind of consumer goods, then I think it becomes very important that you do demographic segmentation. Same goes for income levels as well. If you're selling mortgages or if you're selling loans, banks do a lot of income level segmentation. They classify their customers into different income groups, and then they can devise different marketing strategies for each group. So you can do demographic segmentation. Then you can also do geographic segmentation. Is using the location of customers, you can segment your customers. So you can have different products or different types. You can assume that the customer preferences are going to vary by different regions. And McDonald's is a company that comes to mind when you look at geographic segmentation, because McDonald's is a very global company. It has expanded into a lot of countries. And if you actually try out McDonald's products in different places, different countries, you would actually experience very different set of products. So for instance, if you try McDonald's in India, you're not going to get a lot of non-vegetarian options. You're definitely not going to get the beef products, which are the trademark of McDonald's, but you're actually going to find a lot of vegetarian options. On the other hand, if you go in the United States, and even within the United States, you would find a lot of variation. So what McDonald's have done is it has actually tailored its products or tailored its marketing decisions based on geographic locations. However, some firms don't decide to do that. They tend to keep their product choices or their product marketing, their 4P mix similar across all locations. Well, there are some firms which actually do a lot of geographic segmentation. Then comes the next type of segmentation, which can provide a lot of value to firms. It's called psychographic segmentation. You can actually do segmentation based on customers' lifestyles and personality traits. So this is where if you have access to customer data on their personality traits, if you can identify customers with different personality traits, then you can actually segment those customers. So fashion industry does that a lot. Fashion industry creates or segments its customers into different on the basis of different personality traits. So they will actually create different types of products, different shirts or different designs for of customers with different personality traits. So that's called psychographic segmentation. One disadvantage of psychographic segmentation is that you would actually need some sort of access to customer data based on their personality traits. And those are something which are very subjective. It's very difficult to identify personality traits on which you can actually segment customers. So it can be a little difficult exercise. However, it actually has a lot of value if done right. Then you can also do behavioral segmentation, whereas you can actually segment customers on the basis of their purchase behavior or also on the basis of occasion. So if you actually look at a lot of customer loyalty programs, what they're doing is they're actually segmenting their customers as loyal customers and not loyal customers. So those are the two different segments that they're finding. And how do they identify loyal customers? Well, that's using customer purchasing behavior data, and through that they can actually do behavioral segmentation. Websites also do a lot of behavioral segmentation where they segment their customers as returning customers or first-time customers. So they have a lot of referral programs for first-time customers, but not so much for returning customers. So, one good thing about digital marketing is that the customer data is easily available. On the other hand, in offline world, it's very difficult to get access to customer data. But the more access and the more granular the customer data can be, the better segmentation that you can do. Because today, in today's world, firms typically do data-driven customer segmentations. And this is something if we will actually learn over the upcoming classes, we will actually delve deep into segmentation and deep into targeting and deep into positioning, and where we'll actually do some data-driven exercises as well. But for now, this is what segmentation is. It's the practice or the activity of segmenting your customers into different groups, where each segment is similar on some aspect. It could be similar on the basis of some demographic aspects, some geographic aspects, or psychographic aspects, or behavioral aspects, or a combination of these. But they are different between segments. And once you've identified segments, then what you do is you actually look at the attractiveness of each segment. You look at whether I want to target this segment or not. So you identify each segment, you try to find whether that segment is attractive or not. Now, what do I mean by attractive here? Which means whether that particular segment is profitable for us or not. Whether can I meet the demands of that particular segment or not. So it could depend on the segment size, because if some segments are large in size, which means there's a lot of demand in that particular segment. On the other hand, some segments can be very small. So for instance, if you do some income level segmentation, you can have people who earn more than $1 million, people who earn between 500,000 to $1 million, people who earn less than, let's say, 200,000. So you would see that a lot of people will actually fall in the bracket of less than 200,000. So that's actually a large segment. And if a company wants to target that segment, that segment would be very attractive because it's large in size. And so you find the attractiveness on the basis of size, but you can also find attractiveness on the basis of fit. So whether that particular segment has a fit with your products or services or not. So if you are into luxury groups, if you are into luxury products or services, then you may want to then you may find a segment attractive which is high in income, even though they may be lower in size. So you try to find the segments which are attractive, and then you decide to pursue those segments. You don't always target all the segments that you have, because as I said, marketing strategy is all about closing the wrong doors and choosing the right ones. So this is also an art of not going for segments which are not attractive. So that again, that another example that comes to my mind is Apple's example, that Apple doesn't really cater to gamers. It doesn't really create products in the gaming area because it doesn't find that segment attractive for their own reasons. So that's what you do. So you target different segments, and if you're targeting multiple segments, you're actually going to develop products or services. You're going to take those 4P decisions, which is product, price, place, promotion, differently for each segment. Because if you take the same decisions for them, then essentially they're the same segment. So you devise different products and you match those products with their segments. Then the next and the last strategy that you have is, how do you position yourself to each segment? What kind of position do you occupy in that segment's mind? So for instance, if you are, you can have, let's suppose there's a segment of low income customers, you can actually try to sell them products at a very cheap price. So you can position yourself as a low price a retailer or a company, or you can be someone who provides them value at a little bit of higher price. So Target versus Walmart is the example here. Even both of them are actually targeting middle class Americans, but they actually position themselves differently to that particular segment. So it's how you position yourself to that particular segment. Now that's a very important exercise, because you can position yourself differently to the same segment, and you've got to stay consistent there. You've got to stay consistent in each in your positioning, because that's how you actually send a signal to the marketplace that this is who you are. And if your signal is not consistent, if you don't position yourself consistently similar to the segment, there's going to be customer confusion, and customer confusion is not going to be helpful to you. So you have to be very clear in your positioning to your particular segment. I mean, take an example of cars here. So this is what I call a positioning map, and this is where we are actually trying to position ourselves on a two-dimensional space to a particular segment. So this is, you can say the segment would be people who want to drive cars, but you can position yourself as high price on two dimensions, which is price and quality. So as you can see from this graph, is no one wants to be associated with high price and low quality. So this particular quadrant is not really that, there's no one here, right? And you don't want to be positioned yourself as low price and low quality, because no one wants this tag on them than their low qualities. And you can see a lot of competitors position themselves differently. You've got a cluster of firms which actually position themselves as high quality and high price. And also you have a lot of companies positioning themselves as high quality, as high quality, but not so much high in price, so kind of an average price. But then there's also a lot of a group of customers, a group of firms here, which are targeting themselves as not so high quality, but also not low in price as well. So you have to decide what kind of positioning you want to take in the eyes of your customers, so that you can attract them on different occasions. So for instance, a high income person may want to buy their first car as something high quality and high price, but they may want to go for a low, not so less quality, but low price car as their second car. So you position yourself in the eyes of the customer, eyes of the segment, and then that's how they actually going to perceive that particular product. Because marketing is a lot about managing customers' perceptions. And if you're able to manage the perceptions, if you can send a consistent signal to your customers, which is what you do through this segmentation, targeting, and positioning exercise, you are actually, then means you have won the game in terms of trying to communicate value, right? So we just discussed about what is marketing. Marketing is creating, delivering, capturing, and communicating value. So one of the core aspects of marketing is communicating. So you want to be able to communicate who you are to your customers. And if you're able to do that successfully, that's half job done. Then all you have to do is you have to provide product excellence to be able to garner competitive advantage. So just another example, sometimes this positioning exercise can also help you find some breakthroughs. So this is some sort of a positioning map created for iPhone when it was launched for the first time. Back in that time, in 2000, early 2000s, there were cell phones which were smart or not smart, and which were very hard to use but not so easy to use. So you had a lot of smartphones which were very difficult to use. I remember those phones coming up with those keypads. You kind of flip that phone and a keyboard comes out. Actually, a QWERTY keyboard comes out. So they were very difficult to maneuver. Some phones had those stylus pens and tiny screens where you had to maneuver them. So that was a very difficult exercise. And then iPhone came out, and which was a smartphone, a very smartphone, and that was very, very easy to use. That was one of the first phones that I saw where you can actually use your thumb to use that, and there was no need for stylus. The operating system was very, very intuitive. And you can see that Apple did really win the game in terms of their iPhone. So this positioning exercise can also help you identify gaps in the markets. And isn't this all about identifying opportunities? So if you do the positioning exercise correct, if you identify dimensions, high price and quality is a very typical dimension that we have. But if you try to position yourself on dimensions which will help you signal to your customers that you're unique and you can provide high value, then you have done a good job in your marketing plan. So you want to be able to find attributes of your positioning that would be unique to your customers, and that'll actually provide value to your customers. So there's that. So that's about the positioning map. So let me just give you an example of a current company. So Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. So let's see, how do they do this segmentation, targeting, and positioning exercise? So they do a lot of demographic segmentations because they identify segments on the basis of different age groups, genders, and income levels. So Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is targeted towards health conscious consumers of all ages. Traditional Coca-Cola is targeted towards a broader audience. So they do a little bit of, not a lot of demographic segmentation here. They are actually going for all audience and all genders because they want to be inclusive and all income levels. So I wouldn't really call that they do a lot of demographic segmentation. But they also do a lot of geographic segmentation where they change their formula or change the taste of Coca-Cola depending on different regions. In some instances, like I've stayed in many countries all my life, and I think I've found Coca-Cola's taste to be a little different in different locations. Sometimes it's a little sweeter, sometimes it's not. So it actually offers, and it also offers unique flavors to satisfy the local palate. So for instance, Coca-Cola offers a mango-based drink in India because mango is very famous there. That's called Maaza. But you wouldn't find that everywhere. You wouldn't find that in all parts of the world. And it also offers a lemon-based drink called Limca, which is also something that you wouldn't find in all the places in the world. So it does a lot of geographic segmentation. Let's talk about psychographic segmentation. This is where Coca-Cola does a lot of different types of segmentation. So Coke Zero is targeted to consumers who have a personality trait of being health conscious. So that's Coke Zero for you. They also have a Coca-Cola Life, which is a very low calorie count. Which has a very low calorie count. Again, it's going for customers who are very health conscious. So it does a lot of psychographic segmentation. It does a lot of behavioral segmentation as well based on their purchasing behaviors. It changes its what do you call portion size. You can get a big Coke, a small Coke. You can even get a mini Coke in some parts of the world. So that is, they're trying to cater to customers based on their purchase behaviors, right? So that's what they're doing. So there's that. Then they also do, of course, they target these segments, and we've already, I've already kind of talked about how do they segment by saying how do they target to these customers by coming up with different products for each segment. So they do that a lot. And then they also do a lot of positioning, a lot of unique positioning. So for instance, when they want to sell Coca-Cola Classic, they position it as their classic drink, which is the Coca-Cola taste. And if I want to purchase a Coca-Cola, I don't really go for this, even though I'm health conscious, but I don't really go for Coke Zero or Coke Light, because I believe they are as bad as Coke Classic. So I just go for Coke Classics because I want that authentic taste. So that's how they position it. That's how they create their marketing content. That's how they create everything. So that's there. They also do Coke Zero, which is an healthier alternative. And if you actually look at a lot of advertisements of Coke Zero versus Coke Classic, Coke Zero is all about health consciousness. It's all about not really providing you that much sugar. So that's how they position it, right? So they provide it as a healthy alternative when it's actually not healthy for you. So they are positioning it as a healthy drink, but it actually is not. But that's how they're positioning it. I mean, they can position it as something like less sugar, to be very, very not say less sugar, but they say non-traditional sugar. They're actually putting some other type of sugar in this, but they don't want to do that because that would not really be attractive to their particular segment. So they rather position it as a healthy alternative, right? Which doesn't make sense, but it actually sells, right? So it works out. So then you also have the Coca-Cola Life, which is shown as a low calorie option. So one is a low sugar option, the other is a low calorie option, which would again cater to health conscious customers, but they don't really position it as Coca-Cola Classic that will actually give you the original taste of Coca-Cola. So this is the video, guys. So I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you understood the identifying opportunities stage of marketing plan, which was trying to find your segment and targeting to that segment and then positioning to that segment. Let me just close this video on this quote here, is that no matter, you can learn marketing for years and years and years, and at the end you're going to realize one thing, which I realized, that marketing is all about doing this segmentation, targeting and positioning exercise well. If you're able to do this well, you have mastered marketing, in my opinion. So this is a very crucial exercise, and something that we will definitely deep dive in the upcoming videos. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.